Josh Burns, we're awaiting the Labor Party's stance on those midterm targets on emissions reduction. It's shaping up as a pretty important decision, not just to say to your constituents who want action on climate change, yes, we are serious on that front, but also to say reduce the political risk of what would be another campaign where Scott Morrison would target Labor if you went too ambitious on those numbers.
Well, I'm sure Dave is sitting there praying that the Prime Minister doesn't go holus bolus after the Labor Party's climate policy when we announce it, because Dave knows that in electorates like his, it's going to backfire spectacularly on Scott Morrison. It's going to backfire in Higgins. It's going to backfire in North Sydney. It's going to backfire right around the country in places where the Prime Minister has spent the last month trying to regain some credibility by committing to net zero. So let's see how hard the Prime Minister goes on Labor's climate policy, because it will backfire in some key areas where the Liberal Party needs to win at the next election. Beyond that, KG, all I can say is that we are doing the work. There is a lot of work going on behind the scenes to ensure that we have climate policy that's in line with international expectations, in line with the science, and most importantly, in line with the international demand for cleaner, greener, cleaner, cheaper energy for the future. There are jobs in it for Australia if we tackle climate change, and that's what a Labor government will do.
Dave, if Labor were to say, for example, they would legislate and have a target of 35 to 38%, how could the government be critical of that, given that's where your projections are going anyway?
Well, look, Karen, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals here about what Labor's policy might be and whether they might legislate it and whether we might respond to it or not. But I would say that, we need to be constructing this, and we are, with a view to Australia's national interest. I mean, I expect and appreciate that this issue plays differently in different electorates, but ultimately what I'm concerned about is, what position does Australia as a nation take on this? And we are in an unusual position in the sense that we're an advanced industrialised economy that is a huge energy exporter, a huge net energy exporter, a huge fossil fuel exporter. That's part of our economic structure. There's no point pretending otherwise. And it means that we need to be mindful of that when we're making these commitments. We need to be mindful of our people employed in the resources industries, people employed in mining right now, and how they're going to make that transition. So I think, our record on this as a government has been a good one and will continue to be a good one, because it doesn't neglect those realities. It's not just dictated by only certain parts of the electorate. It's mindful of Australia's national interest, and it has credibility in the sense that we meet the commitments we actually make.
Josh, would you be happy if Labor were to say simply set the target at 35% to go low risk?
I think, KG, what's clear is that we've become a laggard on climate change under the Morrison government, and we should be leading international efforts. We have a lot to gain by tackling climate change. We have a lot of jobs and a lot of industry to potentially gain. Twiggy Forrest is not doing this purely out of the good of his heart and soul. The Business Council of Australia isn't calling for a 45 to 50% emission reduction target because they're bleeding heart lefties. They're doing it because of the profit that it will mean for Australian businesses and the jobs that it will create. You look at the offshore wind business and industry that will be created.
Enough?
We're talking. No, I don't think it is. I think we need to do more than what the government's doing, and weak projections won't fly in the international arena. I think we need to be bolder, and I think we need to push for strong targets in line with international expectations. And I think it will be extremely beneficial for our economy if we do.